I'm drinking a cup of coffee to prepare myself for this episode. I need to hype myself up. Here's the thing. We're at the tail end of a contentious election season and have begun voting for our president already. Can you believe it? We're already in the process of voting for our next president. Can I just say, American elections take way too long, are way too exhausting, are too many adjectives that I can use right now. But all I can say is, I'm tired. For many people, they will vote one of the following issues this year, according to the Pew Research Center: the economy, the right to choose, healthcare, the Supreme Court, or the coronavirus outbreak response. Today's episode was a really hard one for me to do. I'm inclined to rage, be angry, to basically lose my shit. But right now isn't the time for that. Instead, I would like to talk about the last 4 years, the MAGA economy, and ask the following question: did trying something new work out for you? I'm going to be candid. This is not an uplifting episode, but this episode is an important one. And I really urge you to give the entire episode a listen because I need people to hear the hard truths. This economy sucks, but instead of being emotional about it, I'm just going to share the facts. Don't forget to grab the resource if you're trying to figure out how to make money online, selling what you already know. There is a link to that in the show notes. Just click on it. Watch the following webinar. That'll kind of break down how you can do it, especially if you're trying to figure out what your first product is and who in the hell to sell to. So, anyway, grab your resource, How to Make Money Online, Selling What You Already Know. Philosophy about dealing with people. Believe what they showed you the first time. And if you're nicer than me, the third time's a charm. I will never ever forget when 45, similar to he who shall not be named from Harry Potter, said the following while smirking: "What do you have to lose?" I'll never forget that smirk. Come to find out, we had a lot to lose. At the time of recording this episode, over 700,000 Americans have filed for unemployment during the previous week. That's not including the other 50 plus million people who lost their jobs during COVID. The arts and entertainment industry has been decimated with no clear plans to revive it. Have you heard of any? I haven't. The restaurant industry is in a death spiral because 50% capacity is not a long term solution for the financial health of those businesses. Restaurants depend on being filled at capacity. They just do. And for most restaurant owners, they can't pivot quickly enough to even deal with this situation. But I've never heard of anything federal or locally about how we're going to deal with that. Enrollments at universities are contracting, in particular international student enrollment. And that's actually a trend that it has been accelerating during COVID due to visa policies that have been enacted by this administration. In my previous job, what I did was help people get visas. Like, that's all I did all day long, was help people with the process of applying to the program I worked for in order for them to get visas. And by the way, it's hard to get a visa. And I'll talk about this further more in the show. But why on earth would an international student want to come here when the country and the administration has made it clear that they don't want them here? Why spend their money here? So they're not. Tourism, by the way, is on track to lose over $500 billion, according to Statista.com. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Food is more expensive. I don't know if you've noticed, it's not just our spending habits, like the actual cost of food has gone up. Metals and the products made with them are more expensive due to tariffs that our government has placed on imported goods. And now we've also been slapped with similar tariffs. Basically, it's a tit for tat and we're paying more. Major appliances are back ordered, and people are reporting that they're having to wait 2 to 3 months to replace their fridges, stoves, etc. How do I know? Because I would like to replace my fridge or my stove, but I already know it's going to take months to even get them. Business hours are unpredictable and really confusing. So depending on where you're trying to go, who knows if the place is even going to be open? Who knows? And if it is open, who knows how long it's open? And if you get there, maybe like they closed right before you got there. How do I know? Because I've had this experience not only with businesses, but also with transportation. And this is after having checked online to make sure that I understood what was going on. 11 million jobs will not come back, even though we've opened up the economy. There are 11 million fewer jobs as of this moment in time. 40% of African American businesses are gone since COVID. They're just gone. They're not coming back. Women are being hit extremely hard financially during this time, with many having to make the choice between working or being at home because their kids are now studying online. In fact, America is beginning to feel like how certain people imagine what life is like in those alleged shithole countries certain people always seem to be talking about. Let's be clear, I'm not one of those people. Please do not email me or make a comment about this comment. I'm just saying there are certain people who have these ideas about certain quote unquote shithole countries. And I'm just thinking that how America feels right now is probably how they imagine those countries to be run. What is so upsetting is that the US will have an uneven financial recovery, varying from state to state. And honestly, it didn't have to be that way. But when everyone was given $1,200, a kick in the pants, and a good luck sign slapped on our backs, I knew that we were in deep shit. My friends in Canada, Australia, the Middle East, Africa, and other European countries were basically like in the beginning, they were really bemused and a little bit in shock by what was going on here. And they even kind of messed with us, right? They were messing with their American friends, like, like it's so funny, like a comedy show. But then they began to watch in horror as it soon became clear that what was happening was just no longer something to look down on us about. In fact, it was really horrifying to watch. Instead, for the first time in my life as an American, I experienced being pitied because of the country that I'm from. New experience. I watched in exhaustion as grown ass men and women were unmanned by a piece of cloth. The crazy thing about wearing the face mask is that it's a completely normal part of life in other parts of the world. In Asia, it is not unusual for many years now to see people wearing masks because of either they have a cold and they're just trying to be polite towards the people around them, or actually pollution. And ironically, this summer I ended up needing to wear my mask, not just because of COVID and trying to protect others in case I'm an asymptomatic carrier or someone else is around me who is, but also because of the wildfires and the horrible smoke and air quality that we were dealing with. In fact, Denver had the unfortunate distinction of having the worst air in the world, one of the top 3 cities in the world with the worst air sometime this summer. And believe me, it was bad. I watched in shock as 45 said the situation was just not his problem, even though he was the president of the United States. Okay, I guess you don't have to do that work. That's not in your list of things to do. Instead, he decided to have the governors manage each state's COVID response. This has created ongoing confusion across the US because each state's doing something different. Ugh, and it's so annoying. I also discovered that each state also had a different level of comfort with COVID deaths, too. Who would have thunk it? In fact, it felt like being in the Hunger Games. I am just so grateful for my governor, Governor Polis, and his swift action that he took. He actually closed our ski resorts. That one action saved so many lives. And apparently, it's looking like our economic recovery for the state of Colorado is happening faster than we anticipated. But I'll also never forget seeing our legislators basically cry. I saw people cry when they had to sit there and cut billions from our budget. You know why? Because they actually care about the people in our state. And Colorado has a balanced budget amendment. We can't not balance the budget. We can't operate in the red. So they had to cut everything. And despite all of that, we're on track for having a healthy economy. That's despite shutting down our ski industry, half capacity restaurants, and all of the sacrifices, such as sitting in my home for 3 months during quarantine because we were mandated to. That really sucked. But you know what? It's kind of awesome. Now, Coloradans and a few other states get to travel to Costa Rica because our COVID positivity rate has consistently remained low, with the exception of returning college students. And that's actually why I'm avoiding Boulder right now, the city of Boulder, because that is where a large university is, the old university I used to work at. Not going to that city because the students are messing around. And so now they're having a spike specifically in that area because of the students. But this is a money show. We've also learned that having health insurance tied to work really doesn't work. And if you're not sure about that, just ask the millions of people who lost their jobs and their insurance this year. Even Anne Rand's Institute asked for help this year, no pulling themselves up by their bootstraps during this time. The period for extended benefits and assistance is coming to a close. For those who requested mortgage assistance or deferment, I ask, what's going to happen when that time's up? And that's coming fast. For those who requested help with their student loans, what's going to happen at the end of the year when that time is up? For those who run tourism dependent businesses, what will they do when people refuse to visit the US or can't because of US policy? And by the way, I've lived abroad. I have a lot of friends from overseas. I have traveled the world, and I can tell you right now, no one wants to come here. They do not want to come here. They don't want to deal with it. And this was even before COVID hit, people were reluctant to come here. They did not like the administration. They did not want to put money into the economy. They did not like the policies, and it's going to get worse. So we're going to lose a lot of money because of that. And for those of you who work with international students and rely on the business that they bring into your cities, towns, schools, what are you going to do? Because they can't come or because they aren't getting approved for visas or whatever is going on. And to give you an example, because I care about this industry so much and I was part of it for so long, I'm going to give you an example of what students, international students, spend on and why this is such a tragedy for our economy, not just for us socially, but for our economy. So here's the thing, international students, before they can ever step foot in the US, before they, like when they're in the process of requesting their visa and proving that they're who they are and all that kind of thing, they have to do all these things. They have to prove that they have enough money to pay for the year for the following expenses: tuition, housing, books, miscellaneous, food. And in fact, by the time I finished my previous job, for students who wanted to attend the program that I worked for, I think they had to show at least $40,000 for each year they planned on attending. So if they were going to be there for 2 years, or were requesting a visa for 2 years, they had to show that they had $80,000 available to them, right? So it was good in the sense that you knew they weren't going to be homeless on the street once they arrived. Or if they had scholarships from their government, the government had to do the same thing. They had to show all of the monies up front for that student. And here is what the students would actually spend their money on: new cars, which they would pay for with cash, decaling those cars. So, you know, all those cars that are like painted this shimmery candy apple green, or they pay for that kind of stuff, detailing, cleaning their car, a lot of stuff with the cars, insurance, home decor, makeup, threading for their eyebrows, hair, shopping, interstate travel, facilities for events that they would hold for the student communities that they belong to. So, an example of that would be the Kuwait Cultural Mission would have their students do these amazing, amazing events, and they would have to pay for facilities to host those events, right? And they'd have catering, and I mean, it was a big deal. Rent, if they were renting, if they did, or they might purchase a home depending on what they wanted to do. Books, tutoring services, tickets to events, or restaurants. So this is just a small glimpse into what they were bringing into our economy. And for those of you who are like, wow, there are fewer international students in my town, that's not a problem. It is a problem because you're not getting any money. Okay, goodness. So what is so enraging about all of this is that financial policy married with health policy could avoid all of this. So I've heard it said that we shut the doors to China, which actually, like tourism coming in from China at the beginning of this whole thing, that was not a bad idea. That was good. But there was policy behind that could have been enacted for the US. And how do I know this? Well, it's called a little thing called research and just seeing what other countries were doing. Countries like Canada, which literally had a day a couple weeks ago with no COVID deaths. Canada is a huge country with 50 million people, or 35 to 50 million people. It's the size of in context of California. They've got it under control. So apparently they're doing something right, right? So maybe we are doing something that is not working for us. So Canada, South Korea, Germany, and oh, hello, many African countries. they are doing something that we apparently are not doing, and they're getting better results. So instead of fudging numbers or lying or, pretending like it's going away or whatever it is that we're doing, people are still getting sick, and there's a financial cost to that. 200,000 Americans have died. And not only are they someone's loved ones, they are also someone, they each one of those lives also represents a contribution, both literally and figuratively, to the economy and to the greater good and to the community. And I don't know why we don't have that conversation, right? Here's the elephant in the room, though: the stock market. Whenever we talk about the economy, politicians will bring up the stock market. It's doing great. And it is. And I think that's kind of awesome. And I was like, we do need to be excited about that. And I wanted to share a little bit about the stock market. So apparently, 55% of Americans do own some amount of stock, according to Pew Research Center. The median value of those stocks across all Americans is about 40,000 per person. However, it depends on how much you earn. So the less you earn, the less you have in the stock market. Makes sense, right? The more you earn, the more likely you'll have in the stock market. Homes, apparently, though, are where most of people's wealth is concentrated, which is why people talk about home ownership so much, and why numbers such as African Americans owning homes in the 40% range, or maybe it's like 45% range. That's why that's so problematic, because we can't grow wealth. Like, it is definitely a cornerstone to a lot of people's wealth building. So many people who talk about their overall net worth will also be typically including their home value in that, because you can pull income out, you can pull money out of your home if it has grown in value. There's equity in your home, you can do that. And that's a very powerful thing. So, an example is I live in my place is itty bitty. Like, I have a little tiny place, but the appreciation versus what I paid for it is astronomical. It's unbelievable. I put zero down on my home, and I've made so much money on it. So if I were to sell tomorrow, I would I would be good, you know? And that's something to think about. And by the way, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, I was really lucky that I had a financial ally in my mortgage broker and in my realtor to even be shown this property. So there is something about that. Here's the other elephant in the room, which is income. And I find it interesting that no one talks income as much as they really should. I find women actually talk about income a lot, men not so much. So I want to talk about income. Let's talk about this. So 45 has talked a lot about African Americans are the most employed during his presidency. And the other thing he said, after being like, "What do you have to lose? The blacks, what do you have to lose?" Now, first of all, I don't believe he has black friends, because if he did, he would be told by them that saying the blacks is really racist and really insulting. But I'm pretty sure that he knows that already, which is why he always says it. But anyway, one of the talking points is always all these jobs, and people are employed, and I'm like, okay, fair enough. Let's look at that. So I need to talk about what people are actually making, because I think that's important. So black women brought home on average about $777 a week. Black men, about $865 a week. Hispanic women, $750 a week. Hispanic men, $894 a week. White men, $1,154 a week. White women, $968 a week. Asian men, $1,564 a week. Asian women, $1,221 a week. Now, here's the thing: it is really hard for me to get excited about bringing home around $37 a year before taxes, especially when rent, the US's median rent is around $1,078 a month for a one bedroom. Think about that. Like, just work the numbers. Now add a car payment if you have a car. And I'm not talking an extravagant car, I'm a $12,000 car, cheap payment. Add insurance, add food, add one kid, take the kid out, add some clothes, add a student loan, add health insurance, add a dental procedure. How am I supposed to get excited about $37,000 a year? Why am I excited about that? So when we talk about pay equity, there's a reason why. I am not excited about $37,000 doing grunt work, doing bullshit. I am not excited about it. Are you? Do you want to make $37,000 a year? Let's have that conversation. Personal finance is political. I have said this before. I will, like, this is a non-negotiable for me. And it's not even, I don't understand why this is even a conversation. It's not just habit. Money isn't just habits. It's access, it's policy, it's political will, it's caring about people. Personal finance is, unfortunately, or fortunately for some people, a crazy combination of luck, connections, habits, policy, information, interests, and more. With that in mind, I have to ask you one last thing. Who is this economy truly working for? Because with these numbers and this information that I've shared, it's clearly not working for everybody. Thank you for listening to the episode. Let me know your thoughts. You can email me at michellesmoneyhungry@gmail.com or share on social. Hope you're having a good day and good luck out there. Don't forget to take off your kick me sign.